Why hello, and welcome back to another episode of Voice of the Rings. I am your host and guide, Zollin Ironshield, and today I've got a fun little episode here of a LOTR life blog for you. I want to talk about some ideas for you guys and fun things about different things and knowing about yourself as well as others and knowing what other people are thinking too and stuff. Now, I am no expert on this kind of stuff at all, and again, you can take everything I say with a grain of salt, of course, but I want to just give you some fun little advice from a positive perspective on some stuff with personality types and insight on things with communication, all right? And knowing that will help with relationships and knowing other people and kind of just seeing things and stuff. This is something that I've always been just kind of good at. I don't know, I can't really explain it. But I can understand I can put myself in other people's shoes very easily. I don't know, I've always been able to do that. And I've always counted that as a blessing that I could do that because I can understand people really quickly. Even if I haven't known them very long, right? Or if I do know them long, I can know them more in depth, right? But again, I feel like this is something that everybody can do, okay? So it's a very positive thing and it's really kind of fun. Once you start learning about some of these things, it will really like intrigue your interest. You'll be like, oh, that's really cool. So that's why I do this, right? Or that's why, you know, another person does that. So there's something you have to remember, okay? So I'm going to show you in a minute here. We'll look at some different information and how you can kind of, for a free thing online, you can like kind of find out what personality type you are. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the Myers-Briggs personality things. This has been a thing for a long time. Now, remember, one thing you have to realize with personality types, okay, is that there's a lot of fluidity still on that you can be a little of a couple of personality types, or even if you are, everyone is unique, everyone is special. So you should never put someone in a box, but it does help with these groupings, and basically what they say is pairings of different reflective aspects of all humans, right, and all people, and how we can be put as like our base building blocks, okay, into these things. So without getting too wordy, pretty much my experiences, now this is me, this is my stuff, is I feel like the personality types and kind of knowing yourself and knowing what other people are and stuff, it really helps you to understand other people so that you can get along with other people better, right? You can agree to disagree on things or agree on things or learn, oh, this is how they think about stuff like that, most likely, even though every person is unique. So you don't want to hear someone has a personality type and just lump them into, oh, they must, you know, this, right? Because every person is unique, just like our thumbprints, just like the sound of our voice, the, you know, our eyes, all these things are like a snowflake. You know, if you've ever seen a snowflake, there's no two snowflakes that are alike because they're so complex. It's kind of a neat thing, right? With our voices, the reason why some people can imitate voices, right? Like this channel, Voice of the Rings, right? I can try to do my best to sound the right timbre and the right quality and the right sound level, right? And all these different things to imitate a voice. I love doing that. It's very fun. But you can never quite 100% with your normal talking voice. You will always be unique to other people. I mean, compared to other people, because we have what it's called an overtone series. So it means how your voice basically resonates out of your, you know, sinus cavity, out of your throat, mouth, all that kind of stuff, right? Now, again, this can be adjusted, you know, you're sick, you're nasally or something, maybe more than usual, but I'm saying your generic talking voice, it's unique, right? Same thing with your personality, right? That's how God made us, okay? That's my personal belief. Now, here is a couple cool things about this with personality types, okay? The first thing you have to, it's cool, is that we have these building blocks of these personality things where we can kind of see where we start. And as you go through your life, you will notice that you improve on things, right? Now, this is Zollin's sayings, okay? The building blocks is personality types, one thing. But then the big things that really matter are your experiences and your choices. The choices is the huge one, you guys. Choice really matters. What are you going to choose to do with your experiences and those building blocks of your personality type? You can have a personality type that maybe has a tendency towards one thing, or whether it be good or bad. And you could choose later to adjust your personality to be better instead of bad, or worse from that good, right? That's a possibility, right? But again, here I want to talk about positive ways you can increase things and stuff. So the first thing that's really important then to remember what this stuff is, again, me as my personal belief in Jesus and stuff, is that my choice too, also I feel that, you know, God helps guide stuff too, right? When I pray and things. That's a side note on that, but choice is really important. But from a human perspective, just humanity, right? With personality types and seeing these patterns that a lot of groups of people have different, you can kind of group people in certain things. But again, I want to emphasize the fact that you can't completely group everyone by the personality types, just like anything, right? You can't look at a country and be like, oh, you know, they all agree on this and all believe this. That's never the case, right? Any group of people, whatever your background is, where you're from, ethnicity, all that, you can't do that. You just can't. We're all unique human beings. Everyone should be judged on their own individual merits, okay? So that's just life. And that's a good thing. That's how you should think about it, right? But it is really interesting when you learn about your own personality type and what your strengths and weaknesses may be. Now, you may go through your life and as you improve on things and be like, oh, you know, I've gotten better at this. I've gotten better at that. You know, this was a weakness, but I've done better at that, right? Or, oh, is that why I always was kind of naturally just good at that kind of thing with other people and communicating? And this is really, really important when it comes to this stuff because of that. So let me show you a free thing, so I don't bore you too much, a free thing, a personality type, and I will link this in the description for you as well. So let me just bring this up right here. There we go. It's a little small. I'm going to bring it a little bigger there. Okay, we'll do it like that. So this is a free personality test thing. Now, you could take the Myers-Briggs personality test, but it's like a few $100s. So it's going to be a lot. I recommend this only takes like 5 minutes to do or less, this test. You could do it a few times too, right? Now, again, I wouldn't necessarily take it with a grain of salt still, because it might give you a personality type, but a lot of them have overlapping things. What do I mean by that? So if we look at personality types here, and there's actually, so again, the 16 of them are here. So these are all of them. Okay. So we have a couple different ones, the analysts and the diplomats, right? Sentinels, and they've got some fun, these are little terms. So every personality type has kind of like a fun little lingo. They'll add something to it, right? To make it sound cool and things, and usually fits in with that, like the adventurer. They, again, you know, it's just kind of a fun little addition to it. But, it's really, really cool to know this stuff, because when you start realizing the patterns that we have, these base things, it's kind of like our core, almost like instincts, right? That we kind of like are born with, right? And again, when you're going through life, you can have things depending on your circumstances and your choices and experiences. You can have both good and positive impacts on your personality. And again, with these, there can be overlapping differences. Like, for example, you know, you click on this, you know, like let's look at the commander personality type, which this would be someone who tested as an ENTJ, and it'll explain to you and everything on this, what that means, what's the point, right? So for this one, it would be someone with extroverted is E, right? So you're a little bit more outgoing, you like to be around people, right? Intuitive, thinking, judging, and you can click on these and they'll explain it more and more in detail, right? And things like that. It's pretty cool. Commanders are natural born leaders, people the personality type embody the gifts of charisma and confidence, project authority in a way it draws. Now here's the interesting thing. Again, you'll find when you look through all these personality types that there are a lot of overlap. Okay, so you may find that you're like, oh well, I'm a little bit of a commander, I'm actually like a little bit of a campaigner, you know, and I have some of this, you know, logistic, you know, executive. That's going to happen because the goal of the personality type is to kind of find your base traits, what you kind of start with, right? It doesn't mean that you can't have a little of everything, so don't get confused. And again, don't push people into a box with the personality types. The main reason I'm showing you these is the fact that it helps you to kind of understand how other people think about things sometimes, right? So that's why it's kind of good, and how you think. Especially, you should always start with yourself. There's a saying that comes from part of the Bible, or I don't know, it might just be an old saying. I'm trying to remember. But, you know, take the log out of your own eye before you take the speck out of your brother's eye or sister's eye or whatever. And I think it's a really important saying, because basically it's like, don't judge others before you judge yourself, right? Because you might be glaringly doing something that someone else, they might just do it a little bit and you do it a lot, right? So that's kind of the point, is like, this is more for you guys, right? It's for our individual selves to know and kind of stuff, right? Now, again, I will let you know kind of what mine is. I found out that I've been studying it for a long time. So I wasn't sure at first. I thought for sure I might, maybe I'm the commander personality or a different one or that kind of thing. And again, don't bottleneck yourself into something, because, for example, when I take the test, a lot of times it gives me the ENFJ one, or the protagonist, right? And a lot of you might agree with that with my channel, right? Okay. But I have found out, and when I read to the test and really thought about the questions and stuff, like what is my core feelings, I am actually usually an INFJ, which is actually technically the least personality type in the world, I guess, apparently. We're usually called the advocate or the counselor, which is definitely me when I've studied it. Okay. It doesn't mean that I don't relate and have a lot of the personality types of like the commander and the protagonist and a couple other ones, which I definitely feel like I do have too, but you're gonna feel that. But the fun thing is he kind of shows you some stuff and you'll find, oh wow, I really do have a lot of those things, right? Because again, I told you guys this on my channel before in some live streams. I am definitely more of an introvert in nature, like my native feelings, right? But over time, I have really become an extrovert, right? And that probably, in my opinion, that's a more positive thing, because I like to do my channel. I do stuff in front of thousands of people now with you guys here on YouTube. And I, again, I keep some stuff private, but things like this is just like, this isn't really like, again, I would recommend you keep this stuff more private, right? But I don't really care. You guys can know what I, got with that, whatever. Because really this shouldn't define you, right? Again, a lot of us are going to have a lot of these personality type traits from a lot of these things. It's not going to have just their generic what they wrote here, right? So again, keep in mind that a lot of these things they say are very generic, but the goal is, if you can get like one of these to have like 80% correct, even if you think there's other stuff to you are, or other stuff maybe the opposite, that will probably be the closest to where you'd fit in these personality types. And again, they've also have splits. So they have like, they have an A and a T, and it explains the difference between A is assertive and T is something, what's T stand for? I forgot. Turbulent. It's kind of a weird word, because turbulent almost has a negative connotation, but they explain it in detail. I don't think they mean it negative in this way. But again, I am definitely more of an assertive person, because, you've watched my channel. So it's very interesting, very cool. I think it's neat. I'm very proud of it to be able to be that. You should be proud. Whatever personality type you get should be proud, because these are all positive. Everything is positive. And whether you are really a rare personality type or you're the most personality type, it doesn't matter, right? It's just to help you understand yourself and the building blocks. And again, anything it says that maybe are negative traits of that personality type, you can overcome with choice. It doesn't put you in a box where you can never overcome those things. That's what's really important, okay? And again, me as someone, my beliefs as a Christian, and again, all this stuff, you don't have to be a Christian, you don't have to be anything, whatever your beliefs are in life. This will help you, this kind of thinking, to kind of understand other people, right? Because it's really, really important in life to think about other people's thoughts as well, and how they think, and other cultures, and how other people think. It doesn't make you any less valid either if you have disagreements with other people, right, in what your beliefs are. That's what I think originally America was. My friends from all over the world can also, that was the original point of America. It's having your own freedoms to have your own views in religion, and how you get up in life and all that kind of stuff. Now, does it always work? No, of course not. There's bads and goods in every country. That's life, right? Just like personality types, there's bads and goods. You can always correct them, right? And now one thing with this area of diplomats, which again, I sit more in the area of diplomats when you read all of these, all these kind of stuff. Definitely the protagonist or the advocate. I kind of lean towards both, but the only reason I think a lot of times I do the test I get the protagonist is because I've really learned to kind of step out of my comfort zone to engage with other people, and now it is my comfort zone. I love talking to other people, right? But again, the advocate also is someone who really loves to listen to people and can just talk to someone and people just open up to you and start talking to you. This is something I've had my whole life. I've always wondered why people will just come up to me and like start telling me their whole life story. Like I used to work and be a bookseller. I had people all the time that would just like start telling me their whole life story. And I was just like, I'd always be happy to listen and learn. But sometimes when I was tired, I'd be like, whoa, all right. So again, when you do this, find those little funny things and think back and be like, oh, that's what that happened, right? Like maybe you've always been someone that's really good at like campaigning for things. So maybe you're this personality type. Or maybe you've always been, really good at entertaining, right? Maybe you're this personality type, right? Doesn't necessarily mean you will be though, right? Again, you guys love my channel. Maybe I'd be entertaining. Well, I hope so. That's why you subscribe and like, and yeah, you should do that right now. But again, but I'm not. I'm over in these personality types, right? More so. It doesn't mean that I don't have the traits of the other ones. That's what you have to remember, okay? So anyway, hopefully this has been a little bit encouraging to you, but I just think that it's really, really cool to think about this stuff and kind of learn about other people too, and realize that we all are very unique and different in the world. But these personality types can help give you an advantage on meeting new people or people in your family. Maybe someone you just really don't get in your family, right? You really don't get it. You don't get why what their political beliefs are, or what they believe religiously, or just anything, or just how they act. Maybe they just always say things that frustrate you, right? Maybe you'll find something out about yourself with one of these personality types and realize, oh, that's why I get frustrated with them a lot. Maybe it's something they do, or vice versa. Maybe you'll learn that, they're a different personality type, and you'll be like, oh, so they just naturally think like that more. That was their building block. Or again, though, it always comes down to choice. So take all of these again with a grain of salt, and what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because you do need to realize that it's good to do the thinking for yourself and to learn for yourself. Find videos online, but look at multiple sources too. There's some YouTube videos I found for personality types that are like great. And there's other ones I found that I'm like, oh, that's not good, right? That's just, no, right? It's just real generic and kind of like blasé. You really got to study it and dive into it to find out what, you'd fit in one of these, and realize that you may be a cross of several of them too, of course. But find the one that fits you best, and you'll kind of know your generic baseline. And then the reason you might have a lot of cross things is because you've taught yourself to do other things, right? Because again, choice, experience. What did you experience in your life? Who are your parents? Maybe you didn't have parents, that kind of stuff. Those those things can be good or bad, right? But you could choose. You shouldn't let experiences can definitely define us sometimes, but you shouldn't let it be your only way it shouldn't be your only thing that defines you, right? Your choices matter, right? Choice matters. That's why even like me as a Christian, right? If I ever talk about that with you guys, it's because I'm saying that choice matters. Even Jesus made it very clear that you can accept Jesus as a free gift, but it is a choice, right? So it's not being forced upon you, right? So that is kind of the thing you have to remember, right? And again, guys, that's free, right? Okay. You don't have to do anything to be saved, according to Jesus. All right. The biggest thing is we have to drop our pride and confess that we're sinners. And that's really hard for a lot of people, no matter who we are in the world, right? And again, you might not even agree with me on that, and that's totally fine, right? With the being Christian and stuff. That's totally fine. If you're here for Lord of the Rings and you just like, hanging out with me and that stuff, that's my goal. I want you to always be happy, relax, have a nice place to just relax and have fun. Even when I do these blog videos, that technically has nothing to do with Tolkien, but I also found out, on a side note, with characters, you can usually look up, and there's usually places online that have showed you what characters' personality types are. Well, I found out that Frodo is also an INFJ, like I am, so that's kind of cool. So is Aragorn and Galadriel. So, anyway, that was kind of fun to find out. And then a couple other ones that I'd be interested right now. We might want to, we'll look at during this video, I'm going to Google and we'll see if we can find a bunch of the Fellowship and see what all the personality types are. Again, these are just guessing because obviously we can't physically ask them, They're just how Tolkien wrote his characters into the story. So they take their generic traits and they just kind of guess. It's a little, doesn't quite work with fantasy characters as well as real people, obviously. So it could be wrong. Maybe they're not that. Maybe we asked, Tolkien, he would have been like, no. Though, yeah. And also I find that sometimes on different sites, they'll give different people different personality types, and some will be really close. So again, like I told you, like, for example, using me as an example, since I'm talking about this, the protagonist versus the advocate, or the INFJ versus the ENFJ, which is the acronyms, they are kind of interchangeable sometimes a little bit because they're pretty close on what they do and stuff. And I found that there's different sites that'll say certain people are, they're ENFJ, and then the other site says that same person is an INFJ, right? So again, they're just kind of guessing by putting their personality types into like an algorithm thing, right? Trying to figure it out. So those are the kind of things you have to remember. We're going into a rabbit hole for no reason there with that, but just keep all this in mind, have fun with it, enjoy it. Don't let it pigeonhole you into a feeling a certain way or thing, or using it as an excuse for someone else, oh, well, this is why they're always mean to me. That is not a good excuse to give to someone, right? That is their choice to be mean still. So even if someone has a tendency to be maybe a little bit more selfish because of a certain personality negative of one of these traits, they could choose not to be still, right? It might be a little harder for them compared to someone else who maybe is a little bit more of a giving personality, but it's still their choice. So don't give people outs because of that. You want to be forgiving and give people chances, of course, but don't let people hurt you, right? Give people one or two chances, but you do need to know when to not, give people chances anymore, right? If they're just not going to change. So a little side note there for that. But again, goes the other way too, positively, right? And for yourself, you might find that something you're doing, you're like, oh, that's why I'm doing that. And maybe I should work on that and not do that as much, right? If it's a negative. Or maybe, oh, I'm really good at that, being giving, but maybe I need to pull back just a little bit because I'm almost giving so much I'm exhausting myself. You have to think about yourself still, right? You should think about others like I'm talking about in this video, but you should still think about yourself, guys, okay? It's important for your own health, for your own mental health, physical health, even spiritual health, right? You need to think about yourself still, okay? Keep that in mind. Again, and this is something, even I love I've been enjoying building our community here on Voice of the Rings, right? And it's so fun to meet so many different kinds of people. And now that I've been studying this with base personality types, and then also learning that even though these are building blocks of what you could fit a lot of people into with these categories, every person's still unique, and you're still going to have, a wild card, whether that be good or bad. On certain things that might suddenly you think they're this and suddenly they're this, or they're both of two different personalities. Not a Gollum Smeagol. I'm not talking about split personality. I'm talking about traits. These are all traits, right? Different traits. You can have multiples, and so things overlap. But keep all that in mind. But it's been really fun to build the community on the channel and kind of see that. And I've kind of had to learn, how certain people do things, right? And I've had to learn to be let things just roll off my back sometimes with certain things, because certain people will leave a comment and I'll be like, oh, I might think about it too hard. And now I've realized, just read it. Some people say things harsher than others, and I have had people in my family that have done that. Though most of you guys are wonderful and leave fantastic comments. I rarely get a bad comment that is negative or something. Most people are wonderful, and I've appreciated that greatly from you guys. But I definitely do think about stuff, right? And one thing I've had to learn in my life is to not let things bother me quite as much, because I'm very, I feel things, I really think about things, right? Where someone will say something negative to someone, and they're like, whatever, forget about it 3 seconds later. Where me, I'll forget about it now that I've trained myself that, that person might have just had a bad day. Let's let it go. That kind of thing. But you can still have troubles sometimes because, I'll start trying to analyze and be like, I wonder why they were upset, blah, blah, blah. Trying to think about it from their perspective, where I really shouldn't be doing that, right? I can't do that for everybody. And that's a hard thing too. Like, I would love to be able to meet every single person, right? That has ever subscribed to my channel and stuff. And I would love that. I would love to meet everybody. But, as you all know, subscribers, that's impossible for one person to meet too many people. It's just, we won't have time in our lives, right? That's just how it goes. But I will always say hi to you guys on streams and stuff if you're there, of course. So you're welcome to hop in anytime. But I mean, like, on a personal level, you know, like meeting his friends, that's always going to be hard. Even though I totally love our community as a Tolkien community here on Voice of the Rings. I plan to build it as big as we can get and as many wonderful and happy people as we can get of every personality type from every creed, background, religion, whatever. Everybody's welcome. As long as you're positive and you love Tolkien content, that's the goal, right? Being nice to others. That's what matters to me here on this channel. And that'll be our goal always. But again, hopefully this helps you out a little bit. Let's look up a few characters real quick, shall we? Let's look up a few characters. I'm just going to Google them, okay? So ignore all these ads. But let's see. What personality type is... All right, Frodo. Let's see if I get a different answer from the other day. Oh, I didn't... Frodo. There we go. I spelled it right. Okay. INFP. See, so this one gave me a different personality type. Okay. So it's funny because the other one the other day said it was an INFJ. So this is the kind of thing. These aren't set in stone, you guys. And there's like subcategories to all these personality types. And yeah, that kind of stuff. Again, there's also different percents of the population, which I'm sure is balanced in the way God meant it to be, of different personality types. Again, my personality type is like 1 to 1.5% of the population, so it's technically the smallest out of all 16. But it's still it's interesting and cool how it's spaced out. But there's none of them that are over, like, I was looking over, I think over 10%. I think there's one that's almost that, but pretty much out of those 16, you can kind of get the majority of the whole world. Again, they haven't been able to test every single person, obviously. They take a big sampling, probably of 1 million people, and then kind of did the estimate, right? It's just math in that way. Let's see what other generic ones we have come up here. All right, let's try Sam. Let's just do all the fellowship. All right, it says he is an ISFJ. Okay. Defender or protector. Okay. I mean, again, see, they're kind of picking that just because he was a defender and protector, but it's still kind of cool. Let's go through the hobbits here. All right, Pippin. All right, it's that they think he is an ESFP. All right, and again, you can look these all up on that site. I have linked down there if you want to know the details. If we do every single one and go back and forth, it'll take a really, really long time. But let's see here. Let me try one thing real quick. So again, see, this was the one they thought I was. Again, it might not even be correct. I've never taken the official test, so I don't know. But, you know, it's got introverted. And again, it says 55% introverted from the questions I did this time, which means 45% extroverted, right? But a lot of times this flips when I take the test. That's what you got to remember, guys, because sometimes it flips because, you know, I'll answer more questions that, oh, yeah, I love to be around people. Because I do. I love to be around everybody. I love doing live streams. That's what I know. But when I need a break, I need to take a half hour by myself, read a book, take a nap, that kind of thing, just recharge. And then I can be with people again. That's just how I am, right? That's how my brain works. More. I just need a break, my own personal meditation time, even though I don't really meditate, but you know what I'm saying. But that term of just kind of thinking, whatever, what are you doing, praying? I need that time. Where other people, they need their recharge is to be with people. And we all know those people, right? I have friends like that. They're like, no, it's time to go to dinner with friends. No, it's like, I've been working all week. I'm exhausted. I need to go out with my friends. That's fun on the weekend, of course. But, that's being very extroverted. You recharge with friends and talking constantly and stuff. So that's kind of those are the big signs of extrovert versus introvert. And you can have percents leaning both ways, right? I'm sure there's people that are heavily almost 100% extroverted. But, still they're going to have a little bit of times when they need to take a break, obviously, and vice versa. But yeah, you can kind of go through here and see this, but I wanted to show you the, all the personality types. Do they have it here? I want to look at them. You can pay for a thing too, but you don't have to do that. 1 second. Had a tickle in my throat there, just couldn't get it out. All right. Sorry, of course it's right in the middle of the video, of course, every time. All right. So these personality types, all right. So if we, so which one was supposed to be Pippin? So Pippin was supposed to be the ESFP. So this one, okay? Interesting. That okay. These little figures are funny. And then Sam was supposed to be the defender. Interesting. All right, let's see. What about Frodo again? What did they think Frodo was? Here? The INFP. INFP. Okay, the meta. Okay, this one. So again, in the grouping that like I'm kind of placed in a lot of some of my traits, right? And it's funny because they also, in the other one, they said he was an IFJ. So you see there's a lot of similarities in these groupings, and that's why there's 4 groupings, because you're going to have cross personality things. So again, don't put people in boxes just because they're one thing. Don't go watch a video and be like, oh yeah, you know, now I know everything about Zollin, because I watched that one YouTube video that talked about 5 points, right? That's not going to work. It's obviously, you need to watch my videos and you'll know more about me, right? Than that. So again, same thing with anybody you know. If they tell you their personality type, don't be like, oh, they're the commander. Well, these must be their good traits and these must be their bad traits. Because they may have other good traits from other things, or maybe bad traits from other groupings, right? And it's just, we're all individuals. We're all special, right? In a good way. Special in a good way. Take that good. All right, what about Mary? All right, Mary Brandybuck. ENTP. Okay, what is that one? EN. Okay. Wait. Which one? Oh, this one up here. Okay, debater. Interesting. Okay, and again, you're gonna get different results from different places online with these things, because these are made up characters in a book. I know we love The Lord of the Rings by Tolkien, but again, they're just taking things and guessing. All right, Gandalf, an INTJ. What would that be? Okay, this one, the Architect. Again, I don't know. I don't know if I would put him in that, but that's just what they think, right? It's just for fun. Just for fun. I thought since this is a Lord of the Rings channel, we might as well go through some of the Lord of the Rings characters, right? Aragorn. INFJ. Okay, so that's me, right? Okay, so I'd be like Aragorn the closest, or Frodo, right? That's what they're saying. Cool. I mean, I'm down. Boromir. If I can get it. Yeah. ESTJ. Now you guys can have fun and you can look this up too. And again, the executive. Okay. Again, these are just the fun little things. You need to click on them and see the details to know all the details about them. So who have we not done in the fellowship? Get a Legolas. All right, let's do Legolas. Legolas, ISFP. And again, this is it's really kind of fun to do this with a close friend too. Me and my close friends all did our personality. We were all like figuring things out, right? And then like seeing if we agree that that's what we thought of our friend, that those were their traits. It was kind of interesting because a lot of times we would be like, oh yeah, that is kind of some of your traits. Except there's some things that don't always fit, that your friends will be like, oh, you know, they'll see something else more in you than another part of you. So you might think, oh, I'm definitely this. Where your friends will be like, oh, I think you lean a little bit more towards these traits in this other personality type. That's going to totally happen too. So it was an FJ, right? No, FP. Again, it can get a little confusing with the abbreviations, right? The Adventurer. Okay. That's supposed to be... Again, I'm kind of wondering if they're just throwing these on the characters or if they've really done the work, right? Let's do Gimli. ESTP. ESTP. Okay, so he'd be the same as Pippin, is what they're saying. I don't know. But let's look. Let's look. Let's see. The entrepreneurials. Well, I totally butchered that word. It's not important right now. You can read it for yourself if you want to. Always have an impact on their immediate surroundings. The best way to spot them at a party is to look for the whirling eddy of people flitting about them as they move from group to group, laughing and entertaining. Oh, I know a friend that is this personality type, just from that description. Exactly. He's a really good friend. In fact, he's one of the friends I think helped me be a little bit more of an extrovert than introvert in high school. But yes, their personalities love to be the center of attention. If an audience member is asked to come on stage, volunteer is a shy friend. Theory, abstract concepts, and plotting discussions about global issues. And again, they're usually always a little bit more on the extreme sides of like what every personality type does. So there's also minute versus more, that kind of thing. Diving right in, I mean, is that not totally explained Gimli, right? So maybe that's why they threw Gimli in here, because he definitely dives right into situations. He's no bones about it, right? Not to mention he is kind of a charismatic leader of the dwarves later. So this does make sense. And Pippin too, because Pippin also becomes a leader, right, of the Thane of the Shire. So that's what I think they're going for with those, right? And leave some music back on there. So did we get all of the Fellowship members? I'm trying to remember. I got the 4 hobbits, Legolas, Gimli, Boromir, Aragorn, and Gandalf. Yeah, we got them all, right? So like, what about Faramir? Just curious. INFJ. Heck yeah. No wonder I like Faramir so much. This is my personality type. That makes sense. I actually do think that makes sense for him too. If you go and actually read it about Faramir, I think this is why a lot of people like Faramir too. He's really caring and thinks about other people and stuff. So it makes sense. So like, let's see. Let's look at Faramir's type a little bit here. Faramir, maybe the rarest personality, but certainly leaves his mark on the world. Idealistic and principled. Now here's something that I want to talk about real quick that I find very interesting. So I'm someone who looks at things half full. I mean, I think Faramir kind of does it in the books too, right? Again, I don't want to be sounding prideful. I want to be very clear. I'm having fun talking about the personality types, but the last thing I want to sound is prideful about anything. This personality type has very good things and bad things as well, which there are definitely on both sides of all the personality types, right? So, but being very idealistic is definitely something I've always kind of been. I always kind of glass half full, I really like to, that kind of stuff. But I would also say that I am a realist from my experiences in life and my choices. I really like to analyze data and stuff, which really isn't any part of this personality type, really, if you look once you read all the things. So again, that's something I have chosen to teach myself. So now I have something special that really doesn't have much to do with this personality type, even though my starting point, I was definitely this personality type, right? So people can even shift. I've even heard of cases where people shift entirely over a 10, 20-year period from something extreme that happens to them or a big choice where they suddenly just shift personality types, right? And their base instincts for things are just totally different, right? And they're just not what they were when they were born and young, when they were a young child. But a good way to find your personality type is kind of remember as a young child, if you can, certain things that you did kind of just out of instinct. It'll help you kind of figure out your baseline, right? Before you did your experiences and your choices, which are kind of the most important thing. Personality type, not that important compared to your choices. Okay. Just keep that in mind. But anyway, so for Faramir, success doesn't come from money or status, but from seeking fulfillment, right? Helping others and being a force for good in the world, which totally is totally Faramir. But of course, you could also say that is totally the entire Fellowship, right? So see, this is why there's a lot of overlap. I'm trying to rail that home to you guys, that there's a ton of overlap with this stuff. So please don't pigeonhole yourself into certain things, good or bad, or your friends, or me for that matter. Please realize that I am a complex human being just like you are. So you can't read this and be like, I know everything about Zollin now. Please don't do that, because you're not going to know even probably half about me with just knowing this information. But it is funny, though, that some of these are, some definite building blocks that my tendencies towards things, right? And I'm sure you'll find that with you figure out what yours is, kind of thing. They move through life with clear sense of their values, and they aim to never lose sight of what truly matters, which is funny because I keep railing home that choice matters more than personality type. but not according to other people or society at large, which is an interesting thing because this personality type usually kind of goes against a lot of like the main culture, right? And I mean, myself personally, again, I'm using myself as an example over and over because it's me and I'm the one talking. I'd be happy to use other people if you want to put out your name. You guys are all like, nope. But I think that this is the case sometimes because, you know, something the society might think okay, I'm not necessarily always okay with, right? But we're all like that. We all have our things we disagree with society, I'm sure. But, you know, just moving along, right, with things, we kind of break the status quo pretty easily. But according to their own wisdom and intuition, right? And this is where I think like wisdom, intuition is kind of gut feeling, right? Which is definitely something that I do, but wisdom is kind of like your knowledge, experience, and choices, right? How much have you studied? What is your, and that's where I feel like the more realism like being a realist comes in, because I definitely personally feel like, yeah, I'm kind of I never thought of myself as like a, what is it? Being a, idealist, right? I always think, you know, when I almost in my mind, and this is what we got to be careful not to do, I almost have the feeling of hearing idealist and thinking of it as more of a negative way, like, oh, they have their heads in the cloud, they're blah, 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 blah. That's not necessarily true. An idealist is usually someone who just really cares about a certain ideal, right? Or something, and they uphold something. So it can be a very positive trait. So see, it's funny how we can tend to get negative aspects put into our minds. So be careful of that going through life. Okay, guys? Be careful not to allow negative things from an experience from one person to influence you to then judge others. That's gonna happen to an extent. We're humans, we do that, right? And it's learning, right? If someone really scary comes up to you and tries to mug you, you might be a little more wary of other people that might look scarier in the future. Now, again, should you be judging them for your safety? I would say yes, of course. If you're in a scary alleyway and some guy comes up to you, you might want to be careful, right? Absolutely, of course. Now, he might be a great and wonderful guy, and he just looks scary. That's true. Now that's where, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have that experience and that choice to be like, okay, well, he might not be, but I'm going to keep my eye on him just a little bit, you know, and be wary, because that's being wise. That's common sense. You got to have that, right? So that's where I feel like an idealist might be like, oh no, no one would hurt me. Like that would be the bad side of an idealist, right? An idealist. But a good side would be someone who is just really cares about something and really wants to promote something, or cares about someone's feelings or that kind of thing, or a certain moral that they will just not break, right? That kind of stuff. That's the positive side of it. So again, for me, I've kind of learned over my life, I'm a realist too, from things I've gone through, my experiences and my choices. And I really like to break things down, right? And be like, well, will this really work in real life? Like, what can we do to help this certain thing in life or the world, but at the same time not hurt people in the process, right? Like if it's, let's say, for example, it's something like, you know, cleaning up something, right? Cleaning up an area. Well, can we clean that area up from let's say garbage or something without then impacting somebody else? Where are we going to put the garbage, right? You know what I mean? Where are we going to get rid of it? So we might have it as landfill, but we want to clean up the landfill. But now where are we going to put the garbage? We're going to put it somewhere else next to where it's going to affect people, right? There's a story that I actually know of. There was a bunch of garbage near a village somewhere. I don't know if it was Africa, South America. And I think my sister told me this story. I do not know the details, so I cannot pull it up for you. I'm sorry. So you're just going to have to take my word on this story. But people were like, this is horrible. They have all this garbage from all over the world that's collecting on their shore right there. We need to clean that up for them. So they went and cleaned it up for them. But what they didn't do is they didn't talk to the people. They didn't think about maybe there's some positives or the consequences of removing that. And it actually happened to be that a lot of that garbage had a lot of stuff that they were using and selling to people, like different clothing, shoes, even some canned foods that were still good and not opened, things like that they were actually like harvesting and using for things. And that because of that, their population grew a lot in that village or whatever. And the moment they took away that garbage and that kind of that resource, even though for us, we seemed like, wow, that's horrible. We're polluting their area, right? Which is a thought that we'd have, right? As, you know, from other countries. But to them, they were like, when they talked to them later, they were like, why did you do that? You know, we've had a bunch of people die now because we haven't been able to get enough clothes and stuff that we were using from those things coming in, right? So it had an impact on those people negatively, even though we thought we were having a positive, right? So anyway, that's the point on the idealistic versus the realist. I tend to be, now that I've gotten a little bit older, even though I'm not that old, but I've gotten a little bit older, I tend to want to analyze data, right? Before things just happen, okay? Before just doing things. Now, again, sometimes it's gut feeling. You just have to gut feel it, or in my case, sometimes I'll pray about it, right? I'll talk to God about it, because you're not always going to have the data. That's the problem, right? So anyway, I think we've gone enough into that rabbit hole to talk about that. But that is something, too, with not just this personality type. That's something that all personality types are going to have to deal with, right, in life. And we're going to have to think about things. So, and again, every personality type, even if you're someone that's more prone to one thing versus another, can figure this stuff out and have these thoughts, you know, and think about, you know, well, how do I, think about that and communicate that? And bringing it back to the main point of the video is the communication, right? Sometimes we have arguments with people, different peoples, right? Different groups of people, different individuals, family members, friends. Some arguments are healthy, right? Healthy debate is good, right? I hear, a lot of social scientists say a good relationship will occasionally have an argument. That's good. If you're not having any arguments, there might be something not right with that relationship, right? But it's got to be healthy debate arguments. Argument is usually a word that has a very negative connotation, like feeling towards. But there can be healthy arguments, right? Or debates. Debates is kind of like an interchangeable word with argument. Argument usually just has more of the intense meaning of you're fighting or with your words, right? Which definitely is the case. Where debate has a little bit more of the neutral, you're trying to be respectful still, which I think debate is probably what people should try to do, even in your close relationship with your family, right? But sometimes it's hard because one party won't want to listen to your side. They just want you to, join or die, right? And sometimes you're gonna have to learn when to just say, okay, well, we are gonna have to agree to disagree on that and move on, or or just not hang out anymore, right? That is hard. You don't want to do that with friendships, right? But you'll have to do that. Most of the time, though, from a positive note, you'll be able to talk it out, especially if you just do it in the right way and understand them. That's why it's good to know your own personality type and to know how you react. Think about Well, try to think to yourself, well, how do I come across to other people? Am I saying something annoying? That kind of stuff. Once you figure it out for sure it's not you, then you can analyze the other person and say, what are they doing? Can I do something to kind of get around that and help talk to them and understand them better? Or is it something that they're just doing pretty much as a sin too, and there's just nothing I can do about it, right? That's where you're going to have to kind of come to. That's something you're going to have to do yourself, or talk to God about, or talk to a counselor about, honestly, a professional, that kind of thing. I am not a professional in this, any sense of the word in this kind of stuff, but I have a lot of experience and I think about it a lot. So I just had this feeling that I was like, I want to make a video about it. So hopefully that was kind of fun for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. I think I've talked long enough. So we'll end it there. So you can also go in and find other ones too. Like, let's see, Galadriel. What's Galadriel? An INFJ. Okay, she's the same. She'd technically be like my personality type too, which again is not how they portrayed her in Rings of Power, but that's okay. That's all right. Or at least maybe they portrayed the negative traits. Anyway, sorry to rag on that show again, but yeah. So I wonder if there's any other characters. But we haven't. Denethor. Let's see. ENTJ. Let's see what he is. ENTJ, a commander. That makes sense. He's so much cooler in the books than the movies. Even though the movie actor did a fantastic job, I still liked it. But he is a little bit cooler in the movie. I mean, the books than the movie. He's a little less giving up in the books as they portrayed him in the movie. But yeah. All right, my friends. Well, what do you think? You are free to leave your comments. What do you guys think about stuff? Again, I keep my own, it's a community and I'm pretty darn open with you guys about things. But I keep a lot of my personal stuff still personal. I think that's a wise thing to do on the internet, right? Because Again, most of you I completely, trust, because you guys are awesome community. But you never know. We could have anyone on here, right? But yeah, feel free. You want to put your personality type in the comments? Go for it. Feel free to do it. Again, I don't think it's any big deal. But remember, don't pigeonhole yourself into it or anybody else by looking it up and going, oh, so that's all their traits. Because I will say, a lot of the negative things about the personality types that I kind of interchangeably have with those two different ones I told you, they kind of change a little bit over. Now that I'm older, I've gotten a little bit more extroverted. But it's just practicing. Just practice, right? And your choices. But remember that even like a lot of the negative things that I find that were negative in this person, I was like, yeah, though that was something I struggled with when I was a child. I don't really struggle with anymore, which is a blessing. But, there are some things that you still will, of course. And, but yeah, just don't pigeonhole yourself into that thinking, oh, I can never get out of these things because it's my personality type, right? I'm always going to do this negative thing. No, you don't. You don't have to do that. You can be positive, and you can choose not to do something, right? You can practice and choose. You have free will, all right? Everyone has free will. Thanks to God. We have free will to choose what we want to choose, okay? And again, I know I was doing a little plug there for, Jesus, but that is important, you guys. I'm only saying that because, I think you guys are awesome and I care about everybody. That's the only reason I say that sometimes about stuff with what I believe, right, in God. But again, as you know, I keep this channel very apolitical, no politics, all that kind of stuff, because we don't need that. We get enough of that in our faces. I want this to be a positive, uplifting channel, but I thought this was a cool subject that some of you might enjoy. And again, if you got to the very end of this video, you can leave a comment and be like, I got to the end of the video. I'm going to be like, well, thank you for listening this whole time, my friend. You guys are all the best. Have a great and wonderful day in Middle-earth. Stay happy out there. Stay positive. I will be your host and guide, Zollin Ironshield, for as long as forever. And we will have a blast and a great time. And it is kind of fun, too, to see all the overlaps, because I definitely think I overlap with, like, the commander personality, too, a little bit, and, like, the enterprise one, and there's a lot of overlap there. So, again, like I said, don't pigeonhole yourself or someone else into it. So your friend tells you their personality type, and you're like, oh, that's why you blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, everyone's unique. We all have our own uniqueness. Those just help show a baseline of where you kind of come from, some of your traits, not all of them. And then experience, choice really matters. And again, in my other addition to that choice part, I always like to add on the, what your beliefs are. And for me, God influences what I do and stuff that's important for me personally. So that helps me with my choosing on things. But choosing is very important. Choice is huge. I can't emphasize it enough that you can change anything, whatever it is, mental, physical health, all that kind of stuff. It really does help to be positive. And I know it is hard to be positive sometimes, and you might not realize it, but I've gone through a lot in my life too, and I'm very blessed. I have lots of blessings. I'm not at all wealthy, but look at all these blessings I still have with cool things and stuff. And I have some great family members, and I have some family members that have caused us many problems in my life, right? But me, I'm always glass half full. The positive things, right? But remember, things aren't everything, right? The real things is relationships. And that was the whole point of this video. Relationships matter. All this stuff behind me could be gone in a second. There's a fire, or there was a tornado, or that, not really tornadoes where I live, but you know what I'm saying. Anything could just boom, gone. But you know what? If my family were all okay, and my pets, and I'm okay, that's what matters most in life, okay? So that's what we have to keep our minds set on, right? Relationships. So that's why I think this is really important, to kind of know yourself, right? Know yourself, know your personality type, all that kind of stuff. It'll really help you out in the future. I'm telling you. It's really helped me out studying this stuff. Now, I'm kind of weird in a good way. I think this stuff is kind of cool. I like analyzing other people and how people think and stuff, and what their experiences are, what their choices are, why are they thinking that, why are they talking like that, what is it a good reason, is it a bad reason, that kind of stuff. And again, it's funny because that personality type does tend to want to understand others, right? And it says that in it. But again, it's also my choice. I could have just not cared about anybody else and not tried to learn, right? So again, that's up to you. That's your prerogative. You can totally disregard this entire video and just do whatever you want. That is up to you, right? Have fun, do whatever you want. But I think this will help you guys out in the long run, no matter what your age is too. Whether you're really young and you're barely gonna be you're in high school, or you're, retired and, a senior watching this, or anywhere in between. Hopefully this can help you out a little bit. Okay. So, because I don't think it's ever too late or too early to learn this stuff in your life, because definitely that's what I've been kind of being pushed on, this path of learning and communication and just knowing myself and what I do sometimes that maybe bothers people or makes people happy, right? And learning how to overcome weaknesses in our own choices and personality traits. And also knowing your family and friends, right? Because it's really helped me to understand people and not get frustrated with people that maybe have a personality type that kind of conflicts with my traits of my personality type. Now I can kind of understand them better. What do you guys think? I don't know. Have a great day. Again, I keep going in more and more. I could do this forever. I do love to talk about this stuff. I think it's cool. If you guys enjoy this, don't forget to throw a like on there, subscribe, leave a comment. Thanks for watching the whole video if you did. Thank you to my wonderful Patreons right here. Thank you so much to them for their support. It means the world. It really has been very encouraging to me, guys, that you guys have been so supportive of the channel and how fast the channel is growing, and also the Patreons, because you guys, the free stuff you do of just leaving comments, liking the videos, even if you can't watch the whole thing, but watch time, if you watch the whole thing, that's amazing too. Subscribing, all that stuff really helps me out with pretty much my livelihood, right? Because pretty much I don't make a lot right now. I'll just be honest with you, at the time of this video, I barely make minimum wage. Not even that. Okay? So I'm getting there. I have savings from when I was a bookseller still. So, but those are getting a little thin. But again, people like this, my wonderful Patreons, are wonderful. And again, there's links down there, everything. I've got a merch shop now, if you're curious, for the people who wanted that. And also I've got like buy me a tea or coffee, the platform. And then the Patreon, which has fun little stories on there, which is, you get some bonuses and stuff. And things like that. And thank you to them. But yeah, that's about it. Have a great day. Hopefully this encouraged you. The goal of this was to encourage you and maybe motivate you to learn about some of this stuff for fun. And again, I will link that site down there about the personality test thing. Take it a few times if you think it got something wrong. And then once you think you've narrowed down to the right thing, go and watch some videos on it. Go read some articles on different personality types. Figure it out, right? Even if it's testing you to one personality type and you really think you're a different one, you're probably right, okay? But again, use both to kind of weigh it and try to figure out what your base traits are, basically. I think of it kind of like a D&D character or any character you're making, and they start with those base traits. You know, like the Battle for Middle-earth, you start with your dwarf, you got certain traits, and you can like add points into strength or dexterity or all that stuff. You kind of get your base points, and then over time, your experiences leveling up and your time in the world will kind of give you more and more points to use, and you choose your choice and where you put those, right? Charisma, being good with other people, or intelligence, being smart, you know what I mean? Or wisdom, just being wise about things, and with knowledge, constitution, right? Being strong, be able to handle things. And then dexterity, maybe you're good at a sport or your hands or whatever you like to do with that. And then of course, strength, right? And strength could be strength of spirit, strength of physical strength, strength of knowledge. There could be lots of things with that, right? Again, it's not so straightforward as like D&D and those things, obviously. But it's kind of fun to have a little bit of a visual comparison. All right, guys. See ya. Stay happy. Baru Kazan Kuzan, I menu. I'll see you all in the next episodes of Voice of the Rings. And I got a lot more coming out. See you soon. Stay happy. And join our Discord. You go to voiceofrings.com down there. You can go to the social media page and join Discord whenever. See ya.